everybody, welcome back to another episode of Tubby Talk, shot here in Tubby Robot. I am, of course, Terry with Terry Leahy Films, and with me, as always, are my co-hosts.
I'm Chris.
I'm Steve.
And we are here to talk to you about video games, just like we do every week. We're so happy that you guys have been a part of our community. And please do more. Come in, talk to us. You can always come into this fine spot right here to do what?
To come here to eat ice cream and play video games.
At the same time, if you want.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. We're building us a little nerdy, ice creamy, beautiful community who just loves video games. So, coming with you with another topic, as always, is one that's near and dear to all three of our hearts, and that is video game music. Guys, when did video game music first infect your brain and make you think that this is a superior art form to all other kinds of music?
You know, I think a lot of it came in the NES for me, being formative, playing it for hours, playing it for days, playing it for weeks. All those tunes would get stuck in your head, and you would hear them repeat. And they're not long songs. Back then, like a video game track is 30 seconds, maybe a minute if you're lucky.
Just infinitely looping.
Just infinitely looping until you would beat the game. And some of the games would make you hate them, for sure. But the good ones, that loop would just become part of the feedback. It would kind of time your jumps to the music. It was awesome. And for me, the first ones I remember rocking out to Mega Man.
Of course.
Mega Man, we've talked a lot about Mega Man and Capcom games in general, but the music in them is pretty uniformly excellent. Yeah, what about you?
Well, I was trying to think of the name of the composer of the Mega Man 2 and
Yeah.
soundtracks. I can't remember her name, and I don't know how to pronounce it, so I won't say
But
it.
we know she did it herself.
Yeah.
We do know that, which is insane when you start to think of the Mega Man songs.
And this is how iconic they are and how much they still hold up to this day.
They do!
Yeah.
And she just had a synthesizer and a MIDI.
I think it was like an 8-key
synthesizer or
keyboard.
something. Yeah,
Like
she
you did a
just
full piano.
banged out all those classics.
Yeah, you didn't have the tools you have now back then. Like, you had to, when you were making a game music, you were writing code a lot, which is, it's not a fun way to do music.
Wait, really?
Yeah. When you're programming a beat, you were literally programming the beat. You were saying how many milliseconds are between each of these crashes, these drum hits, these bass pounds. Yeah.
Is electronica, does it exist because of gaming?
I don't know if it's because it always existed before, as long as computers have existed.
Yeah, I guess
the
that's
second,
true.
Like, computers came out, people were like, "Oh, this is a way that we can sequence music because it's rhythmic, because it's repeatable." And computers are really good at rhythmic, repeatable things.
It probably helped make it easier to create. It helped inspire video games. I mean, helped inspire a lot of the electronic artists.
Yeah.
It must be just because some of the sounds are so similar, especially that very digital electronic you're saying the Crash.
Yeah.
It's very iconic. You hear it all throughout the NES's life cycle, and you also hear it throughout a lot of chiptune artists these days.
Well, what was cool back then was that every system had its own voice, its own voicings, and you can tell, if you're listening to a Genesis game versus a Super Nintendo game versus an NES game, you can just tell by listening what system it is, because the sounds are very unique. And with the NES, particularly the Mega Man games, they were kind of hearkening to almost a heavy metal sort of sound.
Yeah.
But it did not sound like heavy metal.
No.
It was taking, a lot of the melodies and the rhythms of heavy metal, but it sounded like a computer doing it.
And not to make this all about Mega Man, but the beauty of that game, though, is the sound effects are also, in a lot of places, rigged to the soundtrack, which is incredible.
Yeah, it's the same
I'm
type
thinking of
of
specifically,
that-
what is it, Quickman?
Oh, yeah.
For you kids at home, look up what is, because if you played Mega Man, you know exactly what it is, and it is annoying. And it is scary.
And it's funny, if you look at a lot of the sound effects back then, they are actually music. Their tones played at different levels really fast. Like the iconic Mario sounds, like the coin and the mushroom sound and the one-up sound, you can play them on a piano if you're fast enough. And you can, if you look that up on YouTube, actually, you can see people Super Mario sounds on piano.
Oh my god.
Yeah, they're all just tones played in rapid succession.
Really?
Yep, it's cool.
It's the same note, it's just they're speeding it up or something like that? Or?
Yeah, well, they take one of the instruments and it's playing a series of an arpeggio of 10 notes really fast. So it sounds like fewer than 10 notes. It doesn't even sound like notes, but when you slow it down, you can hear it. Do 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 do. oh, those are notes. It's not just a sound effect. They couldn't record things back then. Everything was just made of tones.
Like
there was
like the Legend of Zelda chest opening.
Yeah.
Little ditty.
Da-da-da-da.
Well, I guess that's not a. No, I was
the
thinking
secret.
of,
Yeah,
the secret.
Yeah, and I recently learned how to play that
Oh,
on guitar, which
good.
is cool. It's like you think it's a sound effect, but it's music.
Oh,
Here's
wow.
the thing about video game music that to me is different than any other kind of music, is that it is transportative, and I immediately can recognize a video game lick still to this day, where I won't be able to figure out what like guitar riff it is from music, but I can instantly figure out what a Nintendo thing is. And I think that's just the way they designed it, probably to be very catchy and to remember it. But there's not a person on the planet that doesn't know the Super Mario Brothers original theme.
It's hard to evaluate. Like, I was trying to think, like, I love those old songs. I don't know if it's nostalgia or if it's like the composition, and I can't gauge personally. Like, I'm a totally biased observer. There's no way for me to say like this is a great composition because of that. It's just like it's coming home, and you can't beat that feeling.
I know what you mean, except Castlevania. Most of like the big songs from Castlevania, I'm pretty sure, if they were just done on like by an orchestra, would be amazing.
That's true.
I'm sure they have been by then.
Yeah.
Just like that music, if you like Baroque style, like classical music, I'm pretty sure it's just like was
good
awesome.
music.
Except it was turned into boops and bips for the game, but then when you put it back into an orchestra, it sounds
So the question is,
like
though,
music.
Would you love it as much had you not played the game?
Me personally, no, because I don't like Baroque classical.
Right.
But yeah,
But now,
Yeah.
because you have that
But
context.
yeah, like I was saying before, like I have the context for Castlevania. That's why I brought up that game in particular. I can't tell you which song, which game, which song, which game, or the name of it's a song. I know the names of the songs.
For the Castlevanias?
I know the names of the games, and I don't know which is which.
Because
is which.
a lot
But
of
you
it.
know the original, the
I always think that's from 2. Something else.
No, it's the very first one when he's walking up and you see the castle in the background.
And then it's the first
And
stage music.
Yeah, and that's the first level.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of
I know that
the
part. I don't-
famous
yeah,
Castlevania
yeah,
song.
the intro. I don't remember the intro screen.
Oh!
I need to go back and play Castlevania.
Yes, you clearly do, and you should put it on Wall of Vision so that you can remind yourself. I mean, I can go all the way back. I mean, Balloon Fight is still in my head. That's like the first music
and
ever on the
those
game.
are repeated, and they're very simple and very short, but it just keeps going and going and going. And probably because you've heard tens of hours of that music.
Yeah.
Um,
And it's and it's a loop. It's a very simple loop, but I remember it. And when Nintendo's always good about their nostalgia, so when they pop something from way back then into like a Mario Odyssey, or suddenly the Balloon Fight theme is playing in Super Smash Bros. Melee or something like that, I flip out. Just like, this is the coolest, and it's orchestral now and different. We should talk about that, by the way, because when we fell in love with it, it was still beeps and boops. So for me, I've really, really enjoyed it being brought into the later platforms and given full orchestras behind it, or converted completely into, still instrumental songs, but like
different
rock
genres,
songs or rap songs or anything. Of course, I'm going to give a shout out to Sonic Adventure 2 soundtrack.
The greatest video game soundtrack of all time.
That's right. But that's a point, is we had full instrumental orchestras like you have in films, and we also have soundtracks, which are also in movies too.
Yeah.
So it's crazy that games have soundtracks and things, and it's become something that was literally just some woman on a 9-key keyboard just hitting things by herself with a computer is now being done by like John Williams-esque performers.
It's fascinating, and I always thought about that video game music had a lot in common with classical music, because it's a background thing. There is no words, but it's very intricate compositions with layers of different instruments at the same time, and kind of like, there is a classical scene now. There is new classical music, but it's not nearly as popular as video game music, which fulfills a very similar. And you could make a similar argument for soundtracks in movies and TV. I suppose as well, but game music, it's like an earwig. Like it really bores itself into your brain like nothing else.
Yeah.
And it's funny. It's been great to watch the technology evolve with it. Like you mentioned, like now it's full orchestrated things, and there was a slope right? Like we went from 8-bit to 16-bit, which sounded awesome at the time.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I remember Nintendo's big ad campaign for the Super Nintendo, in the later years at least, was play it loud, because they were like, our sound chip sounds so cool, listen to this music, and it did sound great. Like, they started releasing CDs of their music for the first time in the Super Nintendo age.
Yeah, I gotta go back to Mega Man. Do you like the Mega Man X theme started?
It's awesome.
Like, that was such an upgrade from what we had, and it still had the magic of. It was so. That had to be what they were trying to do all along.
Yeah.
Like that, when that first Mega Man X thing starts, you're just like, oh my god, this is the greatest thing I've ever had. I feel cool for the first time ever.
I mean, that can be said for a lot for Mega Man X, though. It's kind of what they always wanted to do with Mega Man, and the 8-bit limitations kept them. They made awesome games with those 8-bit limitations, but you could tell they wanted to do a little bit more, and then with X, they were able to do it.
Mega Man X could be argued to be a nearly perfect video game.
Yeah.
Nearly all regards.
I would argue in favor of that. There's very few things that I find fault with that game that I don't find the same fault in most other games.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then moving up, you went to 16-bit, you went to 32-bit, which most of the systems had CDs. And now you actually had CD quality sound for the first time. I remember most notably like in games like Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah.
Metal Gear Solid was fully orchestrated.
The Sonic CD had like a fully, like, I don't remember, but it was like a fully like orchestrated soundtrack.
Yeah.
I unfortunately never got, it was one of those games I always read about and never got to play. It's still haunting me to this day. But I think it was like jazzy rock, if I remember correctly.
That sounds right.
It would make sense based on the later Sonic games for jazzy rock, but I think it was like kind of like jazzy style, like easy listening rock. But in a Sonic game where you're just running fast and fighting Metal Sonic and just having those dulcet tunes in the background were amazing.
And you're the one who told me that a certain Mr. Jackson might have been involved in Sonic?
Yeah, and Sonic 3.
But
Yes.
think about that.
Michael Jackson, the rumor is
At his
he allegedly programmed a lot of the background music. And then he didn't want it to be credited for it. So he was never officially credited. But if you listen to especially the Crystal Zone, I forget what it's called, and the Fire Zone, it sounds like a Michael Jackson composition. 100%.
I'm just thinking of when Knuckles shows up. Da, 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 da. That reminds me of Michael Jackson, just him being cool. And then he, laughs at you and runs away. Jerk. How did he stop Supersonic, by the way?
He had Knuckles. He punched him really hard.
Yeah, well, the physics of Supersonic are sort of hand wavy.
That's
anyway,
true,
right?
I was just upset that Sonic didn't achieve Supersonic by Knuckles, or Dr. Robotnik more fittingly, raising Tails up to the air and exploding him with his mind. But, hey.
There would be a good crossover.
Miles Krillin Prower.
What was interesting back then was when the first CD-based games started coming out, you could actually put them in a CD music player and hear the tracks.
That's right.
I had a PlayStation game, first generation PlayStation, that I used to play in my CD player just because I didn't have a PlayStation, but I'm like, I'm going to listen to this all the time, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
Do you remember a soundtrack that first came out that was just so beautiful it might have moved you to tears?
I definitely do.
I do too.
I mean, the first one that comes to mind, moving me to tears through the soundtrack and the story, it's Chrono Trigger.
Yeah.
Chrono Trigger
okay.
had a fantastic soundtrack, like most Square games. I mean, Square is one of the best. When you talk about orchestral, classical sounding, very deep music. I definitely cried playing Chrono Trigger.
Right from the rip, just the clock.
Yeah.
And then the music slowly fades.
And then you're just like, and if you watch the whole intro scene, like, it's moving.
Yep.
But that is a beautiful game. Unfortunately, I didn't play that game during the Super Nintendo era. I think it was still just a little beyond me. Because it's a pretty deep game.
Yeah.
Like, it's not for the faint of heart either.
Yeah.
No, and back then, I remember saving up all my Toys R Us bucks. It was $80. $80 to play that game.
Mm-hmm. But, for me, probably around the same age that you were when you experienced that, I experienced the Final Fantasy VII soundtrack for the first time, and story, and good God. I just had no idea, especially if you had remembered the original Final Fantasy, because the theme is there.
Oh, nice.
There are hints of the theme still there. But the battle theme, the opening theme, and then of course,
One Wind
the
Angel.
sword coming through that poor girl's chest.
Yes.
and
Spoilers!
everybody dies.
Yep.
If you're watching that and you're not crying, you're not human. That is such a difficult scene.
So is that the same scene with Sephiroth?
No, that's different.
Okay, I didn't think so. I was like, I don't think that would fit that
That'd be
touching
hilarious,
moment.
though.
He says it sort of.
This was
Sephiroth.
this was Eris.
Okay.
This was the death. Is it Aerith or Eris?
Eris.
Eris.
But I think it depends on your region.
Yeah, I think it's Aerith.
I think it is a region. Okay.
Here it's Aerith.
Yeah, but boy, that still shakes me up to this day. And y'all know I'm a fanboy for Kingdom Hearts.
Yep.
But when the Final Fantasy music just starts playing in the middle of Kingdom Hearts, I lost my mind. Like, just like melancholy crying. It's one of those soundtracks that still has an effect on me to this day. Another one, like in the movie world, like think of when you hear the Forrest Gump theme and Jenny just died and you just lose it. Like, to me, those same kinds of themes exist in video game music. The first time I got 120 stars in Super Mario 64 and watched that credit sequence where it kind of goes through everything, right after Peach tells her she's going to bake you a cake.
Yeah.
Which she should keep doing. Like, I would do anything for a cake, man.
Yeah, I actually...
Was that the plot of one of the later Wii ones?
With that a cake?
She baked a cake and Mario and Luigi went to go eat it and then Bowser stole it? Or
Yes.
smashed it or something?
I hope so.
It's Super Mario Brothers Wii. There's a cake, and then all the Koopalings pop out of it.
Okay.
Oh, that's right.
And that's the beginning of
That's
it.
what I was thinking of.
But I get very teary just hearing the music of the credit songs in Mario, for all of them. Especially like Mario 2. For some reason I hear that one, and it's Mario's sleeping. He's sleeping, and it's just going through all the enemies' names, and that music, like, ugh.
It's like a nice medley of all the themes throughout the game.
Yep.
And with Mario 2, is it like a slowed down, like sleepy version
Yeah, it's
of
like
the
a
songs?
slowed down, sleepy version. Oh, it's actually an original composition.
Okay.
I don't think it ties directly
because
to
that one
stuff.
doesn't medley. Okay.
But it's really good and really... I don't know why, but ending credits make me sad.
Oh, the Mario World thing will kill me too, and that's poppy the whole time. But then at the end, it's just like just destroys me, man. It's like I spent a lot of time on this, and I feel accomplished. Like it feels like you finished a quest, and you get a little music about it. So.
I think that's part of it. It's we went on a journey through that game, and now it's over, and now it's kind of sad. You know, you say goodbye to some friends. You had a great journey.
It's kind of like that song that Mr. Rogers sings at the end of every episode.
Oh, yeah.
Where it winds it down. He's like, "Goodbye, my friends. Until next time." You're just like,
dude, that game feels too. Yeah, absolutely.
Anything give you the feels?
The first game that gave me like, besides playing Chrono Trigger, like the first game they haven't spoken about. I'll say they really sucked me in with the music and gave me all sorts of emotions was Mass Effect. The original Mass Effect game with the original composer, whose name I don't remember, but he's not the composer of the later few games, and he's gone on to do a lot of TV shows and movies in particular. And I always feel a little bit of pride when I see his name because I'm like, I remember the game that you first produced the music for, and it made me feel right here.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just very like operatic and like bombastic. There's lots of drums, but like what you expect from like a space opera style game, but there's also a lot of electronica style music for like the background music, especially on like the space station.
Because it's still sci-fi.
Yeah, so like the Citadel was the main space station that you spent most of your time on. And the theme that played during most of the interactions there was like this nice, unobtrusive, but like fitting theme. And then whenever stuff was starting to go down, it kind of ramped up a little bit and the same theme just turned like more serious, more urgent.
I like that the music is being informed by the story of the game and by what's happening in the game.
Yeah, and like the fact that especially when skipping past the 32-bit era, but even some games during then were able to incorporate, especially when you started adding cutscenes to everything. Mm-hmm. That was kind of the upside to the downside of not being able to play. Having to watch exposition. I know some people are really upset about that, like Chris over here, but
I hate cutscenes.
But part of the upside is,
not really.
But the part of the upside is they're able to tailor music for the moments that they're crafting for you, and it all just goes together like in a movie or TV show. It just happens to be in the middle of your video game, which can be annoying.
There's one game that does it and has consistently done it since it started in 8-bit, of create a feeling of loneliness and fear exceptionally well, and that's Metroid. The original Metroid song, you feel like you're exploring an alien planet. Now, it's being developed on the heels of like aliens coming out, so they had stuff to look at if they wanted to be informed of like how to do that. But it does it exceedingly well. And then as it went forward, just having that song upgraded more and more, and then it shows up in Metroid Prime. And you're like, oh my god, because then you're in the helmet, like looking around, and like there's parts of that game that are a little frightening, and definitely show loneliness, and the music is just like just these little beats coming throughout, and then all of a sudden, like when Ridley shows up the first time. I want to give a special mention to a game that doesn't do it through music necessarily, but definitely does it through sound effects. Do you remember the first time you played Resident Evil 2?
Yes.
And those crows came through that window?
Anything breaking through that window.
Anything.
That's the scariest moment of my life. Like, I don't ever remember shrieking in horror like I did when that happened.
Well, the scariest movie, a moment in my life comes from Resident Evil 2 as well. But it wasn't the crows. They kind of got me. But what got me was when you first in the police station and the liquor thing breaks through the glass. And the controller flew out of my hand. There. I dropped it, died. Had no memory card. So at that point, I was like 2 or 3 hours in and had to start all over. So I just stopped playing it. So I've never played it since then. So
you never
never finished Resident Evil 2 because I played it and died because I was too scared.
That's fair.
And I'm not scared by anything in video games or movies, except for that. And it made me lose, and I just felt like it beat me.
What I used to get amped up by, like musically and atmospherically, originally it was Wolfenstein 3D, and then even more so Doom. But like they played these like really like intense kind of building tracks, and almost all of Doom ripped off directly from heavy metal songs. Like there's like comparison videos you can see is like, oh, this map is directly tied from Megadeth, and this one's from Iron Maiden, and it's like, oh yeah, that riff is totally stolen. But I don't care because it sounds awesome.
Yeah, because I remember hearing about that. The song that plays when you're fighting like Mecha Hitler at the end of Wolfenstein is For Who the Bell Tolls.
For Who the Bell Tolls.
Totally rip off of For Who the Bell Tolls.
That's great.
But yeah, and a lot of that was also tied to the hardware because back then it was the Sound Blaster was the card in your PC that made the MIDI music happen. And depending on which Sound Blaster you had, the music sounded very different. It was voiced differently. And I just remember very specifically what the Packard Bell computer sounded like because my cousin John had a Packard Bell and he had Wolfenstein 3D and I'd go over his house and I'd play it and just be like, oh my god, I'm so amped up. It was just like this tense building. You go back now and it's laughable to look at the graphics, but just like you turn a corner and suddenly achung, and it's just like Germans shooting you, dogs biting you from behind.
Of course.
Yeah.
In typical Wolfenstein fashion, there's always dogs.
But Doom was epic in every way. But the music, I go back and listen to that, the MIDI of that still a lot. Like if I want to get amped up, put that on. Just like, all right, what's up next?
So there's a couple of cool things. Well, let's talk about this first. The growth of the music that has been done with games that still exist, that existed back then, I think is one of the coolest things. I remember through N64, Zelda was Zelda. It was getting a little bit better, but it was still the MIDI track. And then it was Skyward Sword, where it hits you with full orchestra for the first time ever. And it just blew my face off. Like, the growth of these games is incredible. That, like, they've all had like 10 to 12 sequels at this point, and the music is just getting better and better and better. Maybe the game isn't, but the music definitely keeps getting better. And it's more interesting and more attention is being paid to it. It's beautiful.
And then Breath of the Wild was able to culminate gameplay and music, at least the way I feel. And it was just like the perfect Zelda game with the perfect orchestral soundtrack.
Absolutely.
I do feel, though, that sometimes there's a regression where the technology gets better and the instrumentation gets fancier. Like you were talking about Metroid before, and I love Metroid, all the music of it. But I actually felt that, from a music standpoint, the Prime series was a step back from Super Metroid. In terms of just... I don't remember music from Metroid Prime very well. Like, it's very atmospheric, and it's great for the moment, but like, I'm like, oh, let me think of the Fendrana Drifts theme song. I can't, but I remember every track from Super Metroid.
That's true.
And I was talking to Steve about this a couple months ago, like the Kraid theme from the original Metroid is a weird, amazing song. It's just like a weird Baroque thing that goes off in crazy tangents. Do 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 do, and then it goes do 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 do.
That's right.
Oh, it's so good and weird. and it makes you feel weird, and that's how you should feel when you're fighting Kraid.
Yes.
By the way, the latest Mario had incredible music.
Yes.
Mario Odyssey had incredible music that used some of the original NES 8-bit parts in it. It was incredible.
Yeah.
Like, I think, like, clearly, well, as we all know, Shigeru Miyamoto is also a musician, and you can tell. Like, you can tell right in everything that he's created how powerful it is. And
yeah, I remember a couple of years ago, was it Conan or was it Jimmy Fallon? Jimmy Fallon, there was Shigeru Miyamoto was on the show, and
he was playing with the Roots.
He was, the Roots were playing the Mario theme, and Miyamoto was on guitar playing the Mario theme with them. And I was like, this is the best. The best!
This is a great segue, by the way, because I want to talk about specifically the Mario music. What is your favorite Mario music out of a game?
I think I would go Yoshi's Island.
Wow.
Love the tunes in Yoshi Island, especially like the athletic theme. It's a lot of it. Well, that's the intro to every theme. But it's the one that sounds like an old timey, almost ragtime.
Oh yeah. See, I'm there. I'm already there.
Yeah.
Someone is just going doot doot doot, and I'm there. I'm transported. I'm looking at it, bang, like just tongue throwing and grabbing that little Mario. That's an incredible game, by the way.
And they were just doing amazing things with the sound chip at that point. Like, they knew it inside and out, so they were just throwing weird noises and atmospheric sounds, but it was all really good.
Yeah, I really am trying to think of my favorite Mario music. I can't because the New Donk City theme is stuck in my head ever since
New Donk City
brought up
fantastic.
Odyssey a couple minutes ago, and now just.
Are you talking about the one that she sings?
Yeah, the vocal one.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 in a flash. I don't know the words. It's back to you, or so. I don't know the words. I know the melody because it's ingrained.
They say Odyssey a bunch of times though.
Well, what's cool about that song? I mean, I actually got welled up when at the end of one of the levels. Yeah, there is a New Donk City festival that happens, and you become 2D Mario, and you are going through the stages of Donkey Kong, and they're playing that song in the background with fireworks and the whole city celebrating. And it's a goofy, it's a goofy song. It's really goofy, and you're just playing through Donkey Kong. But it was like, oh my god, this is calling back to so many things, and to see it celebrated in this manner is amazing.
For me, it's on the weakest audio system is my favorite Mario game soundtrack, and that's Super Mario Land.
Mario Land is good.
So catchy, the Birabudo Kingdom of just the first one, and it's nothing but it is the catchiest song. That first level is perfect, and it's the first thing you hear after the ding.
Yeah, because the title screen
we used to have to watch Nintendo come down before we could play a game.
Yeah, that one's great. Have you ever? There's a great cover you might like. There's this little, I think it's just one guy. It's called Tanguy Ukulele Orchestra, but he does a cover of Super Mario Land.
Oh my god!
And it's kind of a sleepy version, and it hits the feels. It's good.
Like, have you heard of Smooth McGroove?
I've heard.
McGroove?
Yes.
He is incredible. Like, he's doing it a cappella, and it's still hitting.
He's the guy with the beard you always see.
Okay.
Yeah, he's got one of the Mario World one is sticking out to me right now because it's the like there's so much in that. Speaking of so much in that in the Super Nintendo, Donkey Kong Country.
Donkey Kong Country, yeah. You can't really beat that soundtrack. Some people say like the second one's better. Nah, first one's good. That first track, it has so many movements.
Just Cranky on his old system. And Donkey Kong showing up like a thug.
It was so 90s, that intro. He's like, hey, I'm a cool surfer dude, and you're old and lame, old man.
That's right.
Yeah.
And here's a bomb.
I'll blow you, you get blown up. But I mean, the first level soundtrack.
Yeah.
So good. It starts with those bongo drums. And it has like 6 different movements that's almost like totally different songs in that one track. And they bring it back every Donkey Kong Country after the third one, I believe, because in Donkey Kong Country Returns, it's heavily featured in that. And in Tropical Freeze, I think they even bring it back there.
Criminally underrated games.
Yeah.
Underplayed more than underrated, I would say.
Well, what's funny is that the sales on Donkey Kong Country Returns are huge. Like, it sold like nuts, but nobody talks about that game.
Why?
But it was one of the top-selling Wii games. I think it's in the top 5.
So strange.
Yeah, because I mean, everyone owned the Wii, and I guess a lot of people like Donkey Kong. So a lot of people have it, but no one
Maybe it was
talks
just
about
too hard, so a lot of
It was
people
hard.
who didn't grow up playing Donkey Kong Country were just like, this game's impossible.
Yeah.
It's not as easy as Donkey Kong was back in my day with 4 screens.
Yeah, and actually going back, it's funny that you mentioned.
Going to the DK rap?
Well, DK Rap is. DK Rap is something special.
It is.
It's
Damn it, it is.
It's endured as a meme to this day. Like,
I wish I knew the lyrics. We could do it right now. But.
he has no style. He has no
You
grace.
going right to Lanky?
Yeah, that's the best
Oh,
word.
has a funny face.
Oh, it's so bad. It's horrible.
Can he handstand when he needs to?
He can, and he can puff up just like a balloon.
Oh, that's right. I will say his coconut gun can fire in sprints, but if he shoots you, it's gonna hurt. All right, I'm done. I'm sorry. That's like a Weird Al rap. Like it has that level of.
It's like if Weird Al went 1/4 speed and rapped, it would be that. Yeah. But you were talking about Game Boy, like that hit you there. We talked about the Zelda Link's Awakening. That has such a good soundtrack. My favorite rendition of the Zelda theme song ever is the Tall Tall Heights, the mountain music. It's the same Zelda theme, but so much more epic.
I have to go back and play this one. This one I didn't play a lot of.
It's got this like driving like urgent strings thing happen on a Game Boy. Like Game Boy, and again, like I think I've mentioned this before, but Game Boy is the tool used by chiptune artists. Like they still use the hardware of a Game Boy because nothing sounds like it, and it's portable, and you can just bring it to a gig and play your chiptune music.
That's amazing. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Some of the newer games that are coming out just have incredible songs. Like it doesn't, but they don't hit me like those classic ones do. And maybe it's because they are a little more informed by all styles of current music because you can put anything you want on them now. You're not limited. I mean, sometimes the greatest compositions come from limited environments, I guess I still think.
Yeah, like sometimes the best art comes from limitations and trying to overcome and outgrow those limitations as you start.
I agree. I mean, I love making these mosaics because it was a limitation. Like I had a very limited resolution to work with and limited colors, and it was tons of fun. It forces you to push. Sometimes like too many options is too much. Like I remember when I was a kid, I first started pirating software. I'm gonna put it out there.
Kazaa?
I was a little kid. Pre-Kazaa, but Kazaa too.
Oh,
I'd
wow.
be like, I want to make things. I'm going to get 3D Studio Max. I'm going to get Photoshop. I'm going to get Premiere. I'm going to get all this stuff that I can't afford because I'm a little kid. I want to learn how to do it all. And it's like, all right, I have all these tools now. I can do anything I want. What do I do? And I could not really pull myself to make anything because back when I had the limitations of Microsoft Paint, like I could make a new thing every day and it was always something interesting. But now that I had limited possibilities, it was overwhelming. Couldn't make it. Still to this day, like when I make something like artistic, I like to limit myself in some way, like only this color, only this medium, like really tight constraints I feel can be very important.
So you're saying you were a pretty good musician when it came to Mario Paint?
Oh, I love Mario Paint, yeah.
Do you remember that?
Of course.
Did you have Mario Paint?
No, I never had an SNES. I never played it when I borrowed yours either for some reason.
Yeah. Mario Paint was one. I got really good at drawing with the mouse.
For some reason, what was it, the baby?
Yeah, the baby was.
You could put different things in there so it made different noises.
There's like 16 different voices, and one of them was the baby, which was just like, and there was a dog and there was a cat.
Yeah.
But then there were you would use things like the car was good for bass, and the heart was great for bass as well.
There's a frog.
There's the frog.
I don't remember what the frog did. Probably riveted, you idiot.
And then there was the Swan was like an orchestra hit, which orchestra hit sounds awesome, and that's always fun to throw in.
The other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about with video game music is this new thing that it has spawned. Like there are people doing what was it called?
Chiptune? Yeah.
There's chiptune. There are also some of the best heavy metal covers of some of these songs that I have ever heard. Like you've mentioned before on the show, this band, the Megas.
Yeah. Have you checked out any of their stuff yet?
Yeah, I have. But they're like the exactly what happens when gaming music inspires you and you create this thing. Can you guys talk a little bit about that kind of stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like the Megas are huge. They take the soundtrack of the Mega Man games and turn them into a rock opera. They add words, and they're doing it with a real live band. And I've seen them live, and they're really fun. But there's a lot of video game cover bands. It's a whole genre. It's a whole thing. There's a convention called MagFest that is all about video game music, and tons of bands
we
go
need
there.
to get you one of these.
I would love to go to MagFest.
It's in Baltimore, I believe, so it's not even far away. We just haven't had a chance yet.
It would be amazing.
We'll do this show there if you want.
There's bands out there. Let's see.
Yeah, it's all the way from like the Minibosses. I know what you
it's
turned
one of
me
the
on
old
to,
term
one of the old
ones.
school ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then they has. Oh, so you mean just MagFest?
Well, just any
Yeah,
band.
yeah. So there'll be like the Megas will play MagFest like almost every year. Arm Cannon is another one. It's a band. It's more like industrial electronica. I want to say kind of. It's all really hard like synthetic sounds, but it comes across amazingly. Especially their Mega Man X medley is one of my favorite like video game music things ever. And then there's Mega Ran who makes rap songs out of Mega Man tracks and also Final Fantasy VII. He has a 2-part album called White Materia and Black Materia.
Cool.
Where he takes off and he makes like I think that those are like rap operas.
And he's a Philly guy.
Oh. Yeah, he's from Philly too. I think those are rap operas based on the game.
Yeah, he's almost more of like he's like a nerdcore crossover with like game kind of like tribute as well.
Yeah. Like him and the Megas were both officially, unofficially sanctioned by Capcom.
Yeah.
Like when they first started their stuff online, Capcom was like, "We like it. We'll mention it on our blog and not sue you." So they were like, "Great." But then Capcom will have events, and those two in particular are always invited. They're like, "Yeah, we're having some kind of event, like like Street Fighter or something. Come on by and play some music."
Yeah.
And it's amazing that they've been embraced by the IP holders because the creator of Mega Man isn't there anymore, and I don't think the composer is there anymore either.
Yeah.
But the fact that they allow them to do this without sending cease and desist orders is pretty awesome.
There's a couple people like that who have add lyrics, and that's kind of like I guess one of the dividing lines. There's a lot of cover bands that are pure instrumental, and there's awesome bands like XOC is an artist. If you haven't heard any of XOC's stuff, you should.
I haven't.
Oh my God! Get his Mario World soundtrack. Get his Mario 3 soundtrack. And
I have to hear it. I haven't checked it out.
I played a lot in the shop. And he did. So one of my favorite.
Back up real quick. Did you hear that at home? You can come to an ice cream shop and hear
video game cover music.
video game cover music.
Yes.
And I used to think the only nerdcore was in here. It's a genre.
Yep. But XOC, everything he does is, I think it's a he. I've never even seen a photo. It's just some person who makes amazing music. He covered one of my favorite
Steve
soundtracks
the whole time.
Yeah.
You got me.
One of my favorite soundtracks of all time that no one knows about is Gremlins 2, the new batch on the NES. It's a weird game tie-in that not a lot of people played. It was a Sunsoft game. It was really good. I recently beat it for the first time. Fantastic. Nice. But he did a cover of its soundtrack, like out of nowhere. Like, is this guy reading my brain? Like, I need to like just bro hug.
Yeah.
What? Like, and I bought them all. Like, it's like, oh, $5 suggested. I'm like, $10 for you, my good sir. You deserve the $10. Absolutely. There's another band called Kirby's Dream Band.
Oh my God! Kirby.
They did a Kickstarter a couple years ago with their debut album. They have 2 now, but they cover not only Kirby but lots of video game staples, Final Fantasy, Chrono Trigger stuff. Really good. Pokemon.
By the way, what is up with the end of some of the Kirby games having like this gripping music? Like you just went on the most amazing journey.
Because he did.
And he's like riding, I think it's Superstar, where he's riding a motorcycle. God bless you, Kirby. The thing that I wanted to do, though, is let's see if we can guess that theme.
I was wondering if you were going to do this. And I was like, please don't do it with Castlevania, or do it because it'll be funny to watch me get them all slightly wrong.
Yeah. So, everybody try and think of one that the rest of us should get, but is a little bit out there.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to go first.
Battletoads pause music.
Yeah. But, like, did you hear that? I did nothing. I did 2 little drum beats and everyone knew what it was. That is video game music. That's how powerful it is, man. I'm sorry. That was so fast.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry for just yelling it out and spoiling the suspense, but I was like, I can't.
I loved it. You knew it immediately.
I guess it's my turn then, since I...
Yeah, you're up.
Okay.
This one's a little bit simpler, though everybody should know it by now, so I don't I mean, everybody
Everybody
should know this. Does you feel life running down your mind? Yeah.
It's Sonic.
Let's get back for more. Yeah, it's Live and Learn from Sonic Adventure 2.
Oh my god.
Live and learn.
It's a song that played while you're supersonic flying around in space fighting the last boss.
Yeah.
Which is where Dinosaur Monster Dr. Robotnik created. And you turn supersonic and that first lick just comes in the middle of it. Like it just comes to the edge of the screen, like fades in, and just plays through the entire boss fight. If you take too long, it plays again.
I'll tell you what,
Which is the best part.
The beginning of that game, rolling around at the speed of sound. Oh my god. It's not the first time we've sung that song on this show.
No, I mean, that's a meme into itself. Like, people just bring that out.
That's why I was trying not to do that one. It's Escape from the City.
Escape from the city.
But then
Knuckles to your candy, he's got knuckles on his head. Okay, Sonic Adventure 2 special mention. That should be a soundtrack. If that's not a soundtrack on a CD, I'll be upset.
Here's when it comes to mind. So what's from?
We're in
Mario 2.
Yes.
But
And
it's
the
in
sand
the
levels.
other.
Underground sand
sound-
and
yeah.
underground sand level. I mostly remember hearing it when you're in the pots.
I was thinking when you go through the red doors. Am I wrong?
No, because there it actually plays the.
Yeah, that was the
Oh,
Mario.
you're right. It's a
one.
little warped though.
Yeah, it's a little warped. Yeah, whenever like most notably in the desert world when you went into the pots. He had to run away from the face. I forget what the guy's name was.
Yeah.
But that was the music I would always
Fanto.
play. Fanto.
Nicely done. Nice pull.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now how about this one? No, that's already that's another Mega Man one. That's
Mega Man 2.
Okay. No, it is Capcom though I'm thinking of, so I'm trying to.
Are you thinking of
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun, dun. It's one we played all the time in the arcade. Captain America's in it. Dun, 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 dun.
It's
Mario
Superheroes?
Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, it's CRT like screen.
I
All
almost
Superheroes
had
vs.
a
Street
heart
Fighter.
attack. That's Marvel vs. Capcom 2, right?
Gonna take you for a ride. Gonna take you for a ride. Over and over.
We got taken for that ride.
Oh my god,
times.
that soundtrack was weird.
Dun.
Marvel's
Yeah.
That was the most popular game that in that series and the weirdest soundtrack. I mean, it was jazz, straight up just jazz,
Yeah.
not jazz rock fusion. It was just
jazz.
just jazz.
Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah, it was
It's Punch
Mike
Out.
Tyson's Punch Out for Don Flamenco.
Yeah! That's what I was hoping. Someone get the name too. That's Glass Joe, right?
Yeah,
His was the French national anthem, yeah.
Yeah, now I know who that's from.
Yeah, the French national anthem. That was the Piston Honda.
Yeah.
Name.
Well, they all had their own little intro song. That's cool.
I'm not doing it justice, but Soda Popinski's is what I was trying to do. It was.
Oh, I don't think I even fought him enough to remember the name.
I fought him way too much. He was the only character I would get stuck on if I ever came back to play Punch Out after some
Did he
time
laugh
off.
at you? Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's horrible
Big
sound.
purple cell. Yeah, that laugh just was so infuriating, and then when it's followed by a "You retire," it was the worst.
Oh, here's one. What's that? You know the tune.
Come on.
I think it's the only
Is it
music
more
in the
to it?
game, although it goes. No, that's all.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
What gen is that?
Oh,
Duck
Yeah, it's just those tones,
tick, tick,
and
yeah.
that's the intro title theme, and there was no other music in the game. And then there'd be the laughing, which also was the most nobody got angrier than at that dog.
What does this mean? Because that's what he would do.
He's like, thumbs up, I got the duck.
No, when you didn't get it, when he was laughing at you, he thumbs up and go.
Oh, he was just
By the way,
holding
why
his
was
mouth.
he in Super Smash Brothers?
Oh, because it was
What-
awesome.
Everything was in Super
It
Smash
was
Brothers.
awesome.
Why did that exist? Oh, we're forgetting.
Yeah, Pokemon.
Changes an entire globe. That song.
You know what was awesome? The anime for Pokemon started with that. Do you remember the first episode? Do you remember the first episode?
I do.
So it would play, and it played
in the
yeah, like letterbox. Like this is what the intro for the Game Boy game looks like. It was monochrome, and they played that sound, and then they brought it into orchestral, and it zoomed into it, a real Pokemon battle between those two same Pokemon. That was a great opening.
That thing was a phenomenal.
It's like, welcome to the world of Pokemon for real this time.
Oh God. Yeah. And then Pokemon Snap happened.
Pokemon Snap is a that's a well-loved weirdo game too, though.
It snapped the back of the franchise for a little bit, though.
There's all the weird stuff with Pokemon Stadium where you had to link up your Game Boy cartridge to the N64. That was weird.
Now, I must say, to kind of close this out, I think the best compilation of songs ever is because of Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, the one on 64, all the way through the current one, hearing those classic songs in that way, where they match the level that they're on, and they're exciting and fun, and they bring you right back to where you were when you were playing the original game. That's an incredible thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's got to be an album.
I definitely bought
Yeah, there definitely
the
is
physical
an album for the
soundtrack of
first one.
Smash 4. Smash 4 came out in
that
a double
one,
CD
too?
release.
Oh, nice.
And CDs are still, they're really, you don't buy CDs anymore. But I bought it for this.
Yeah.
I wanted the double CD set.
Well, that had Mega Man and Sonic Classic, right?
Yes.
So God, I would buy those CDs alone, but mixed in with like new themes that I'd never heard before. You remember the first time you heard the Fire Emblem theme?
Oh, it's cool. Yeah, it's
I was
great.
thinking about that the other day. I didn't realize it was Fire Emblem theme until I saw a video on YouTube the other day, and I was like, I know this song. And I was thinking it's from Smash Brothers.
But that's the beauty of music. I mean, music is one of those things that can bring people together, and it brings together a very special group of people for me when it's video game based music. Like the fact that people are making this metal versions I listen to whenever I'm in the gym. It's a metal version of Castlevania or a metal version of Mega Man, and it's played through almost every time. And then when I'm trying to relax at the end of the day, I might find, what's her name, Tina Guo. She did like the Wonder Woman theme on violin. She does violin covers of music themes, and I'll listen to it. It will put me to sleep.
Oh, nice.
Especially if I'm listening to the Nights into Dreams soundtrack. Not really, but it's amazing what they did with things that used to be about as technological as this. And they created music from it, and it's the music that means the most to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's the music that sticks with me the most, and I can just wake up some mornings and find myself humming something that just affected me during my growth into this 35-year-old nerd I am today. But I'm just like, I love it.
It's not just nostalgia, because I've been playing these games with my 5-year-old, and she is getting into music, and she'll recognize it, and she'll be like, oh, that's the song from Kirby. And I'm like, yes, it is the song from Kirby. And she gets this music just like we did. It's not just nostalgia. It is actually good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, if you want to learn more about music, video game based, if you want to find people who also love video game music, if you want to play a game, just come in and hum your favorite song, see if we can guess it. Certainly this is a place for that. We're at Tubby Robot Ice Cream Factory here in Manayunk, and they're all about that kind of stuff. So if it pulls on the heartstrings like it does me, you definitely want to come in and hang out with these guys.
Come on by and listen to the Splatoon 2 soundtrack on the loudspeaker. We do that a lot.
Anything Steve wants to add right before we finish? Final minute.
I was waiting for this. Why did none of us pick a song from DuckTales for the Guess That Tune? Probably because we will all know them immediately.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, but so I think we should end doing Humming the Moon theme.
Yeah, like that.
We just hummed you hummed it all. So
I can put the actual song in.
Yeah.
yeah, we're humming it right now.
We're so good at humming.
Boing.
See you guys later.
Thanks for hanging out. This has been Tubby Talk, and we appreciate every one of you. You're special.
It's such a good
Good night.